Today we are going to go over how to package fragile vintage items for shipping, specifically glassware.
Yes, we are going to show you the process of how I wrap the items and then how Amber packs them in the boxes and sends them off to you, our customers.
Yes, and last year we shipped a little over 1,400 boxes and we only had issues with 3 of them. None of them involved broken glass. So this method, it works. All right, take it away.
Okay, so we are going to start with this beautiful Fenton Paisley lidded dish. This is a good one to show because it is a lidded piece. Very first thing that I want to stress is make sure that you wrap these pieces separately and do not put the lid in here like this. We have received these like that before and other lidded pieces like that before. Sometimes they make it safely, but most of the time they don't. So that is my first piece of advice. I have like a 3-step system that I typically do. It's 1 layer of bubble wrap, roughly 1 layer, sometimes more than 1, then a layer of honeycomb paper, and then a final layer of bubble wrap. We're going to start with the first layer of bubble wrap on this. We're going to start with the lid first. Typically take about 2 sheets when there's a finial like this. Fold them over again. Wrap that finial tight. And then I still have some excess exposed part of the lid, so I will do that again. I'm going to do another time around. My next step will be to put some pieces on the top and the bottom. A smaller piece of the bubble wrap, and I'm going to fold it up in there. Rip this into 2 parts. There's a piece where the glass is a little bit more exposed, so I'm going to use the thickest part of that square to cover that part. Take my corners down. One of the keys with packing glassware is to make sure that your packing supplies are as tight as possible. Now I have everything covered, and then I'm going to put 2 more sheets, and I'm just going to wrap this whole thing. Now we're going to move on to the layer of honeycomb. I'm just going to wrap this whole thing. This tape does not hold the honeycomb paper very well, so I have started using a piece of packing tape to hold it together more tightly. I'm going to fold these in to make it tight. Feeling pretty tight, pretty compact. I'm pretty satisfied with that. So now we will do our final layer of bubble wrap. Sometimes I will wrap the entire piece in a layer of packing tape. This one feels pretty tight. I probably don't need it all the way around. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap it around the sides, and then I'm just going to use a little bit more of the Scotch tape or whatever you want to call that, just to tighten up some of the slightly loose spots. What I like to do when I'm at this last step is I just kind of squeeze all around and fill any spots where there's a little bit of give. And then I will just tighten those up. It's probably not necessary, just kind of tightens everything up. Gives me peace of mind to know that this piece is as protected as it possibly can be. I'm doing all that I possibly can. I know that there are some factors that are out of my control, but I like to do as much as I can to make sure that this arrives to you safely. As you can tell, we are not conscious about how many packing supplies we use. I just use whatever I think is necessary to get this wrapped as safely as possible. I'll be honest, I feel like I could throw this on the ground as hard as I possibly can and I would feel totally fine with it. You wanna try it?
No.
The actual final step for me is labeling each piece.
which is something our customers absolutely love that you do.
Yeah, this was actually something that I started doing for us internally because I would do this first step and then Amber would do the second step. So I wanted to make sure that she knew what was what. But our customers have given us feedback that they do appreciate the labels. So now it works both ways. All right, so for the bottom, I am gonna wrap this around first before I fill it with this piece and pieces like this, bowls, jars, vases. Make sure that you fill them, pack them as tightly as possible. You don't want to have any room for anything to move. You know, if it would fall, you don't want that glass to have any space to go anywhere to break. All right, so I have it wrapped around, so now I'm going to fill it. Typically just use bubble wrap to fill it as well. Fun fact, Amber hates packing peanuts. She physically can't even touch them. So the only time we use packing peanuts is when we have received them from another package. So I have it filled. I have it filled a little higher than where the glass actually is so that it has room to compact and push in. And now I'm gonna put a piece on the top, hold it all together. This ice bucket is the next piece that I have to wrap. I'm not going to show you the whole process because you'll probably get bored. I have these ice buckets and it has this handle. I put a layer of bubble wrap around the glass first with the handle up, and then I put the handle down. That way the handle is not pressing against the glass while I'm putting all the other layers on and pushing it into it more and more. So just my tip for things like this.
Now that I have the items wrapped and ready to go from Sean, I'm gonna give them one more layer of protection and then put them in the box and ship them off to the customer. I really think that one of the key elements of our packing system is that we wrap everything in either an extra layer of cardboard or use a box in a box. I really like to reuse as many materials as we can, and this is a great place to do that. We don't like to have any space anywhere in the box. If I were just to put the items in the box like this, there would be extra space. So we need to make sure we fill that. One down, two more to go. This is one of the best things I've ever purchased. So this is the piece with the finial. So I'm gonna put the finial down. That way I know that it's really protected by that cardboard. In this step, I also want to make sure that I am cutting the cardboard as close to the item as I can. That way I'm saving space in the box. There's nothing worse than doing all of this only to realize if I would have cut it a ½ inch shorter that it would fit in the box I'm trying to use. I'm gonna take this cutter again, get that extra cardboard off. This one's ready. We have the bottom of the jar left. Might not be the prettiest packing material, but it does work. The next step is we have to make sure that they fit in the box that I want to use. This is really important because if you start to pack things in the box first without checking, and then if you run into the situation where they don't fit in the box, it is so frustrating because you have to start this step over. So I always like to double check unless I'm super confident. And we will add a layer of bubble wrap to the inside, so I need to make sure I'm taking that into consideration. This is a great example. They just fit. It's just not going to give me enough room to add that bubble wrap layer, so I'm going to have to find another one unless I can change things around, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Actually, that might work. So we'll just see how it goes. It might be okay. We'll tape the box up and hope for the best. When Sean was wrapping the items, he used smaller bubble wrap, and then for this step, I like larger bubble wrap because that's really going to give the inside a nice layer of cushion if it were to be dropped or kicked around or if something were to happen. So we line the bottom and the sides first, and now we have to line the other sides. Cutting the bubble wrap to the exact length you need, especially in a box like this where space is tight, is going to ensure that you're not wasting space on bubble wrap. And then I like to do a layer of packing paper on the bottom. Now let's see if this will work out. We're good. I'm going to cut this excess bubble wrap off. And I save all my scraps because there is something that I will be able to use this for later. Now we have to fill in the space in between the items. So I like to use the paper that comes in Amazon orders. I like to use the bubbles that we get in boxes sometimes. We do not want any space in this box. If there is room for things to move around, there's room for things to break. Always a good idea to try to shove at least a little bit of paper in between the items just to give them some extra cushion if they would press up against each other. And just keep stuffing. Just like on the bottom, I like to make sure there is another layer of packing paper before I fold over the bubble wrap. Do you need just a little bit more? And then we put in an order card so people know where to find us. Press everything down a little bit. And then we tape the box up. I like to make sure that I tape over where the box connects. That way, if it would start to pull apart or anything, it does have that extra security of the tape. I don't know if this helps them be any more careful or not. After that, I weigh it, I measure it, I put all of those numbers into pirate chip is what we use for shipping, and then I print the label, and then it sits in our house until we're ready to schedule a pickup. The pros of this method are that it really does work, but the cons are that it is expensive, it is time consuming, and it's also not very eco-friendly. So those are some things that we are maybe going to consider tweaking in the future, but for now, this is what we do because we know it works.
Yeah, we made it a year without any glass breaking, over a year, so it's really scary to think about changing our method right now.
Yeah. If you don't follow every single one of these steps, hopefully you at least learned a few tips and tricks, and let us know if you have any questions.